Hey, well, thank you to Anouk, Chloe, Gary, and Lucy. It's a real thrill to be here. I just want to tell you that I'm kind of living in a Groundhog Day experience because I've just arrived from Tenerife, where they're having a symposium dedicated to drawing as well. They're very keen to work with UE, so I think that's really positive. Things are happening. So I may be floating a little bit, lose the track of time. Please remind me if I'm going too fast or too slow. But thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to open this session. And not a thrill to talk about the market, I must say, because being outside of academia, for me, coming here is kind of a playground where I can talk about the indexicality of the line without, people rolling their eyes at me. So when I suggested the market, I thought, oh, gosh, that I'm not going to be able to talk about the things that I love. But actually, I worked in 3 commercial galleries, 2 of them historical. And I did notice that we didn't have lots of people coming in. We didn't have students coming in, and we have archives. Galleries, especially big historical galleries, have archives. And it was really, it's a pity that, more people don't include the relationship between the gallerist and the artist in their research, in their academic research about artists in general and about drawing in particular. So I am happy to kind of bring this, this perspective here today. So we are talking, I'm going to try and figure out how this works. How will I?
This
I did. Oh,
did it?
It's not going. Oh, I can. Yeah, I've done it on the trackpad.
No, they should be this nice.
Yeah, well, I manage, so it's fine. So, but the perspective today here is specific. So we're talking about drawing and research. The question being, what is drawing research? I propose here that drawing is research. It is a systematic investigation into specific materials and symbols, the line and the dot and whatever stems from that, and can go quite far, through a speculative and technical form of making. Even in the context of an art fair, drawing is experimental, opening up to performance, cinema, animation, architecture, and much more. And here I'll just explain a little bit what my role is as artistic director of a drawing art fair, so a medium-specific art fair. This is an image from the second year where I was curating on my own. So I was artistic director on my own. I started with Philippe Piguet, who was my colleague in 2018. So in 2019, I proposed action as the exhibition, because we always have a thematic exhibition within the art fair. And I proposed to introduce performance, which we have done ever since, alongside the exhibitions that I've curated. Always, I try to always either open up to a specific area, like animation, which is next year, cinema, and then collaborate with institutions that can help us and support us with their collections. The FRAC Picardie is our partner. FRAC Picardie, so the FRAC are regional funds, regional art funds. So each region in France has a FRAC, and each FRAC has a collection. And Picardie in Amiens is the only FRAC that is solely dedicated to contemporary drawing. So, and this is Benjamin Auchard, an artist I invited to perform, and he proposed a protest. And he started working, just, as a side note, before the Gilets jaunes, so the yellow vests, then started a performance alongside our own within our walls. And it is supposed to be a drawing protest, an empty protest, let's say, to be filled by the projections suggested by the drawings that paraded around the art fair, to the amusement and sometimes the annoyance of the gallerists, which I found particularly interesting. So to my knowledge, the most recent institutions dedicated to drawing is one that was started by, I apologize for kind of this self-advertising by my boss, who is there, Christine Fall. And why am I speaking about her? So she created the art fair, Drawing Now Art Fair, in 2007, I want to say. This is our 18th edition. And she now has created something called an umbrella called Drawing Society, under which we do lots of things. I am responsible for the art fair. She opened the drawing lab in 2017. And it kind of is in coordination with this idea that drawing is research, because the way the institution works is they have 3 exhibitions a year, the 4th one being the Drawing Now Art Prize in the art fair. And the definition of drawing that they propose and the criteria are, drawing proposals as experimentation. So drawing lab means drawing laboratory. So the idea for them, and I really have nothing to do with this, it's a complete creation by Christine. The idea is that drawing is a sort of laboratory of creation. So the example I bring here is Nikolaus Gansterau, who obviously is someone who is very much in tune with the theme today. He is an artist and researcher. He worked until, the last time I spoke with him at the Applied Arts Academy of Vienna. And he pretty much has an experimental approach to drawing. I just will add that, so there's a call for proposals. This might interest the artists here. Each exhibition is allocated 20,000 euros, including everything, obviously. And it is a tandem artist curator, if it can interest any of you. This year it's dedicated, it's a very special kind of call, and it's only proposals around animation, drawing as animation. So it's quite specific. And it is interesting what you were saying, because at the art fair, we're very interested in this idea of expanded drawing, not in a theoretical way, but really in terms of incorporating illustration. We have lots of comics, galleries that sell comics drawings, but also experimental drawings by comics artists who are very happy actually to experiment beyond the format of the book. So we really always try to see and to represent, especially in the exhibition, practices of drawing that are a bit more experimental, because that's the way we think of drawing. So for my part, I will point out first that as it stands in its most primary form and as a foundation of the arts, drawing is relational. It hasn't stood in the European art tradition of disegno on its own. It has always been relational as the father of sculpture, painting, and architecture, as Giorgio Vasari said in his famous Lives of Artists. It bears the seed, as it were, or of other, more masterpiece-oriented genres, at least historically. Drawing is not a genre in itself, and this is what perhaps opens up the space for research. It is an abstract and concrete space between mind and making, between point A to point B. Drawing is everything in between. And here I wanted to bring this particular artist who whose work I found in the collection of the Frères Picardy. His name's Eric Snell, he's British. And I exhibited what included in the exhibition called Hyper Drawing, which was about drawing as a connection with the hyper objects, let's say. I'm not going to go too much into it. I will be too much, and I'm thinking probably that I'm going over time. So this is Eric Snell, and I showed one of the drawings of the magnetic drawing series. And I tried to find him. I asked a lot of people around me, including the drawing room, Kate and Mary, and David Tremlett. I spoke to lots of people and asking who it was. And Eric Snell found me after the exhibition. I received an email. And he indeed was having quite a career in the 80s. He did a lot of magnetic drawings, a big series of magnetic drawings and all other kinds of drawing. He's a really interesting artist, but he was asked to, he's from Guernsey, to direct a school in Guernsey dedicated to the arts in general, but very much focused in drawing. And so he now, he's about 70-something, 76. He moved to up north of London, and he has a studio. So if you want to investigate and get in touch with him, I think that would make him it would be very, very good for him. I just wanted to play this as well to show what we do in the art fair. So this is, again, it was after 2019, so this is 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So we continue with performance. And this is Boriana Petkova, It was within the exhibition Hyperdrawing, in which Catherine Strobel, who's here as well, participated. And this idea of relational and the idea of drawing becoming now more of a translation rather than a representation, I think is quite important. And here the prompt was that they are linked together. It's called linked. They're linked together with a glass device. And they have to, the prompt is to draw frantically and to explore the space of the wall as freely as possible, and obviously to negotiate the space with the other artist. And the performance ends usually when the glass device breaks. So it's kind of, Boriana's work is very much, this is Wura Natasha Ogunji, who's also drawing with her as a Nigerian Lagos-based artist, is really interesting, who works with textiles and embroidery a lot, and paper and all sorts of drawing tools. And so there's this idea also of inviting another artist and collaborating with the other artist. And the two drawings are quite different, which is really interesting. So it really is kind of a translation of a context and also a personality, as a personal perspective that is marked on the wall. Unfortunately, the drawing was vandalized during the art fair, but that's another story for another day. Okay, so Vasari says that diseño is a fundamental faculty of the mind, a function of judgment. As such, it relates the arts not only to one another, but to all relational activities. It is easy to think that diseño as a mental projection is a sketch, a draft. It is the principle of drawing as the most basic meaning of the word principio in Latin, the beginning, the starting point. However, if drawing is relation, and we're putting this idea here to the test, how is it simply the principle of all arts? Which is to say, why are we all here, actually? The fact is that the word drawing is flattened compared to diseño. If drawing is a faculty of the mind, a projection that comes into contact with the surface by means of a whole network of knowledge, it is not as simple as just a starting point. In fact, it works as a trace of a spiritual movement tested by its making. The Renaissance and its latest form, mannerism, represented here by Federico Zuccaro, who's my I don't know, I love reading him. So it's a crazy theory of drawing being the trace of the trace of the trace of God in us. And if we replace God by, I don't know, something else, a Spinozian nature, for example, it is a really interesting idea of what drawing can be. And he has a conception of drawing not as, so he says that diseño or drawing is the synonym of concept, idea, or intention. And if he's talking to artists, he will say diseño. If he was talking to philosophers, he would say concept. But the idea is not concept as in, you know, devising things and naming them. It is the motion between those things. So drawing is action between one thing and the other. And it's quite fascinating. He talks about angels and he talks about drawings, and it's an incredible read. Diseño was the highest form of skill in the Renaissance. Oh, and also this book is quite interesting. Most of you probably know it, but of course, I find it fascinating that Robert Williams' theory is that you can separate drawing, diseño theory or art theory from the Renaissance, because it is a philosophy in itself. And diseño actually in the Renaissance became a philosophy in itself and became a way of being and became a way of conceiving images and how they work in connection to all the arts and all forms of knowledge. So diseño was the highest form of skill, but it was embedded in the masterpiece to the point of invisibility. When reading the theorists of the time, diseño was spirit and technique, purpose and form. For Zuccaro, diseño was undistinguishable from God. It was not only concepts or ideas in a static and category form, but intent and action. It was pure creation in God. In humans, it is the trace of God. Technical drawing is the trace of God in us. It associates mathematics and outlining, proportion and shape, scientific knowledge and physics, and so on. I think I said everything I wanted to say. I'm kind of going really quick. Yes. Five minutes. Oh my gosh, no, I'm not good. So the question here is, if drawing is research, you know, how does it affect the market? And conversely, how does the market affect drawing? I'm just going to go again. I just wanted to show you these representations of the myth of the origin of drawing, because I was starting this session today, and how the woman was always either in connection with the body of the lover she's drawing, and her father is having the idea. So this is the famous myth of the Corinthian maid outlining the shadow of her lover about to go, and Butadi's having the idea of ceramic portraits. So the origin of drawing is still, again, drawing embedded in something else, and it is female. So my proposal here is that, unlike what Giorgio Vasari says, you know, why not consider drawing the mother of the arts instead of the father of the arts, and try to think about its invisibility and its sudden visibility now, and what it can say, or what the market can say about it. I love this illustration because it was done by a certain Madame Chauvet, who finally shows the inventor, the nameless inventor, looking at her invention or looking at her lover. What is she looking at? Probably at both. And also finally showing that the origin of drawing is desire, female gendered desire and love. So this is an example with Paul Klee, which is in Tamara Trodd's book that I highly recommend if you haven't read it, about the mechanic nature of drawing and the automatic and technological nature of drawing. And here with Paul Klee, and she talks about the fact that Paul Klee had these oil transfer drawings. So he had a whole stash of drawings, and 9,000 drawings that he produced, 5,000 were drawings. And he kept them as sort of matrices for drawings that he then sold. So his gallerists suggested that he added color because he could sell the works for double the price. So we come to the idea of the market here. So he indeed added color while he was working with this gallerist, while keeping the drawings for himself. So the first oil transfer drawings were artist thinking, I will forget. Artist thinking, feeling, absorbed. So, you know, it connects drawing with self-exploration and experimentation. And so Klee's thrifts, as they were called for his dealer, are incredibly compelling and response of the artist through their public. So that's what I wanted to show you, kind of this connection and disconnection from the market, which is that Klee conceded he did add color, but at the same time, it was a way for him to keep his stash of drawings and to keep research that was desired by the market. So the oil transfers were desirable, they were marketable, people were interested in buying them, but they had to be accommodated to the market. And that is always the question when we think of drawing as research, or art in general as research, because drawing also helps us think about other practices, and I think we should not forbid ourselves to do that, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. Yes, we've come to the point of another type of work and another type of moment in history where the drawing in the market finally took off. So Paul Klee's oil transfer drawings are modernist. They are mechanical by subverting the role of the hand in the final process of the image, but they also emphasize the surface as a medium and not just as an icon substratum. The turn of the century had overturned the power of the hand with technology and emphasized the mechanic role of the mind, dreams, process, and even the hand as a stylus. After making the drawings in charcoal, Klee would then use them to elaborate and an idiosyncratic system to reproduce them, keeping stacks of them in his studio and dating them posteriorly by year and number. Some of them were called drawings 4, which incorporated the reproductive aspect of the drawings in the dating and labeling, turning the drawings into a database. In Klee's case, his research was rendered palatable for the market while allowing him to revisit his beloved drawings, some of which he forbade his dealer to sell. They must have been used to explain the work to potential buyers. With conceptual drawing, the relation with the market is more intricate. Drawing or graphic works, as Douglas Hubler at times called his graphic exploration, was the only tradition that wasn't rejected by the minimalists and conceptualists. In fact, conceptual processes turned attention to drawing, the line in particular, with its diagrammatic quality and its potential to carry information. How long do I have? Okay, so I'm going to accelerate the presentation. So how do you sell? The question with conceptual drawing is, drawings are ideas, right? So how do you sell ideas and actions? How do you sell a gesture? Well, even though we talked about dematerialization of art through Lucy Lippard's famous book, the reality was quite different. Solowitz established himself as the father of conceptual art, and he made his first wall drawing in 1968 at Paula Cooper Gallery, saying that, and I quote, he didn't think about selling his wall drawings, but it wasn't a gesture as an anti-market ploy either. And here the same question is asked of the artists, which was to Clay. How do we market this work that arouses desire in collections? What potential has this research-based experimental gesture have in terms of marketable art? So it was a particular time, I'm going to accelerate a bit, because it was the time where advertising, you know, the Mad Men, the Madison Avenue advertising executives were discovering the power of the concept and the power of the concept to sell in particular. So there was a market, there was a kind of a moment in society that came together. Philip Morris gave lots of money for museums and was very, you know, as a commercial entity, very interested in conceptual art. So in fact, what happened is that in the market, conceptualism sold, and it sold when it became, that's my theory, tangible, when it worked through drawing. So Solowitz never had an issue with selling his drawings. He always sold. He was always marketable. In fact, if you want numbers, in 2018, Christie sold Solowitz wall drawings, 533 for $287,500. So drawing is sold, and drawing as research or experimental gesture was sold. And what is happening here in conceptual art is that it is sold through a certificate. It is sold through a certificate, in the case of Lowitz, a certificate and a diagram, which is what you possess. Then you have to make the drawing. And in some ways, it corresponded to the turn of the society at the time, where we were starting to think in terms of value, in terms of almost immaterial value, but conceptual value, shares and speculation, etc. So yes, I wanted to come to this because I did say that I would talk about Morgan O'Hara, and I want to talk about Morgan O'Hara, because she's an artist who was very much touched by these conceptual approaches to art. On her own, she has had a peripatetic life. She's been all over the place. She's 82 years old now, not very well known, kind of in and outside the market. She does have a gallery, but again, galleries who kind of are in and outside the market. So she once told me that after a big crisis in her life, she asked herself, what do we all have in common? Not particularly as a way to connect to others, but as something to hold on to. And she decided that we all have 24 hours. This is all we have. And so she decided to transcribe every single day of her life into a notebook. And that's what started her time studies. She's now, like I said, 82 years old, and she took on conceptual drawing as a lifeline. She's uninterested in making an artwork. She's an investigator, and her findings are available to whoever wants to purchase them. She works at times in the market, although seldom selling anything, and beyond the market, she works in life. And I'm going to show you how. So this is one of the projects she did with the time study. So she agglutinated her own day and the hours of the day with a project of trying to find monarch butterflies, and these drawings are absolutely fantastic. This is the live transmission series, which is more specifically what I'm talking about, and I just want to show a video for you to understand how they work and what I mean by being in life. I'm going in. Oh.
Oh my God.
So she goes, she travels around the world. Now she lives in Venice. And she's very much keen to stay there for many personal reasons. And what she does is that she's not interested in making a drawing technically perfect drawing. So she draws with both hands in order to unlearn what she knows about representative drawing. And so she works as a machine. So she works as a stylus. She translates what she sees, the movements of what she sees, and she marks them on paper. And what is really interesting is that the intangible part of what she does is that she told me that once she was at a noodle shop in Macau, I think, and she did one of her live transmission drawings. And she told me that what was fantastic was, how do I reduce the sound? No. What was fantastic was that after she'd finished her drawing, so she stays for quite a long time, the man who was making the noodles told her, it's very funny because I feel validated in my work, because people always talk about the food, but they never talk about my work of making the noodles. And I finally see my work as drawing. And she constantly has these, I've went to Venice this summer and interviewed her for 2 whole days. And she constantly has these stories. She has these meetings. She's that kind of artist who's working in life. And the work is her lifeline as well. She's had a very complicated life, and they are both intrinsically connected together. And in the market, you know, and also as drawing. So that what we have from her work is the drawing you saw before. So that's what stays from this whole experience. And there's a question there as well for us, not only as you know, in the market as an art fair or galleries or whatever, but also to us as curators. So I'm done. So how do we stop the video? So at the moment, drawing prices have increased, but there is still a third of what a painting on average costs. The danger of having a recognized art fair dedicated to drawing is of placing drawing as a genre amidst painting, sculpture, photography, or video. Drawing, the female machine that weaves ideas and shapes together, is a research-oriented discipline that makes invisible processes tangible. The conceptual lesson through Saul the Wit is that we are ready to understand value in other ways than the traditional canvas on the wall. The art fair lesson is that the accessibility of drawing through its status as research renders it accessible and tangible. At this point, there is no reason, and this is, believe it or not, a very, very polemic statement, there is no reason for drawing to be a subgenre, a mere technical accomplishment. Drawing can be monumental, in motion, sculptural, processual, diagrammatic, evanescent, choreographed. It is not simply an immaterial thing one can collect as a riddle or a trend. However, when validating it in its autonomy, us as agents in and beyond the market should fight to preserve its accessible magic of being a mind-marking tool and not a genre, maybe, a discipline, an expression, a language. There is no objective reason, again, very polemic statement, for a drawing to be less expensive than a painting of the same size. Drawing can deconstruct the conservative jail art investment puts our creativity in. Thank you.